And I was like, that's not what the little girl intended. She gave me that dog. It was one dog, man. He broke the joint in half and gave it back to me in 2 pieces. So I'm like, I don't know. So at the last leg of the tour, I remember being backstage, and we indulging in something, smoking, and the president guy walks in. So I'm ignorant. It ain't like you put it out and stand up and be like, hey, how you doing? I remember I ain't back into who I am at the time. Forgiveness, I was smoking. I'm like, let me ask you a question, right? Like when you see somebody, like, how do you say what's up? Because you gotta remember, we're in Middle Eastern Asia. These people are descendants of Mongolians, right? Russian genetics, they look kind of Chinese, like Yao Ming. So the response I'm looking for, I'm thinking he's gonna say, we're going to turn on something. But the man said, Salam alaikum. I said, nah, that's what the Muslims say, so we Muslim. So now what's buzzing in my head. I'm like, yo, hold up, I'm from New York. I know the Yemeni brothers, they got all of the little bodegas and little corner stores in New York. I know all the Pakistanis, got all the pharmacies, right? And I know all the West African brothers, they got the taxi services. That's the extent I know about the Muslims. Wallahi, I ain't know nothing else but those 3 demographics. So now I'm standing in front of a man who's the acting ruler of this country. He looks Oriental. He tall, like he got Russian genetics. And instead of him saying what I thought he was going to say, that man said, Salam alaikum. I said, nah, that's what the Muslims say. He said, I'm going to be Muslim. So at that moment, I was taught diversity. I was taught that Islam is diverse. It's not limited to what the media show you. It's not limited to what I was seeing just in my community. So last but not least, my tour led me to the UAE. And I remember performing in Dubai. And Allah was fine. Me and Allah make us better than y'all all know what goes on in Dubai. And come to Allah, I was one of those guys indulging in all this stuff that's going on in Dubai. But after I did my show, indulging in all of the nonsense that comes with my lifestyle, it was there too. And, I didn't miss a beat. Everything I was doing over there, it was happening there, happening in Senegal, happening everywhere. And that's how widespread this culture is. That's why you have to understand. I'm here because I know this stuff has reached all 4 corners of the world. They probably got drill rap in Antarctica. I went down it. You know what I'm saying? It's everywhere, right? So, with that being said, after I did that show, I remember us leaving late. We hung out, I'll never forget, we hung out in Grand Hyatt, waste a lot of time chilling, talking, whatever. I don't want to get into detail because, stuff is behind it. But we left to drive to Abu Dhabi. Now, Abu Dhabi is probably like 2 hours, 2.5 hours from Dubai. No scenery at the time. This is like 2008. Ain't have all this stuff they got now. So you literally in the desert, it's dark, no street lights, no nothing. So, I'm having a hard time going to sleep in the car. I'm just like, I don't want to go to sleep. Wake up, we in the middle of the desert somewhere. Like the dude might have gnawed off and just, we gone now. But we ended up getting to Abu Dhabi, and I was staying at the Emirates Palace Hotel. And at the time, that was the only 7-star hotel in the world. So they had, your own butler, you got all kinds of stuff. I remember when I got there, I'm a jerk. I kept hitting the button for the butler. Like, yo, he come, I said, yeah, nah, but let me get a, I hit it again, he come, I said, nah, I made a mistake, I hit it. Hit it again, you got a toothpick. I was just messing with him, because it's like, it took I think like 35 at night. You gotta hit that button so it don't work no more, right? So, after, indulging in negligence and, being, malicious, I remember going out to the balcony. I opened up the balcony and I seen the sun rising over the Arabian Sea. And I remember just being stuck, just looking at it, because I mean, this is happening in real time. This joint is really coming up over the sea. So now you gotta remember, in my previous lifestyle, the sun means sleep, the moon means party. You don't pay attention to none of that. When you live in this lifestyle that I was living, that stuff don't mean nothing. Nobody looks up and say, look at how beautiful the moon is. You look like, what time we need to get to the club? What time we going to win an after party? All of this is night activity. No one pays attention to this stuff except you. Muslims. Y'all know what the moon means. We like 24 days away from Ramadan. We're not going to initiate the fasting until we look at the moon, right? So now in the daytime, we sleep because we done burnt ourselves out doing all of this crazy stuff during the hours of the shaitan. We out all night. You know? So when I seen it coming over the Arabian Sea, something in my heart just changed. And I remember just a quick reflection of everything that preceded me from Senegal to Kazakhstan to that very moment. That there's something magnificent that took place in my heart that still to this day, I'll never find words. I'll never find words to explain exactly what happened when Allah changes our heart. Understand? I can tell you where I was at, I can tell you which direction I was facing, I can tell you probably what time of the day it was or whatever, but I will never be able to explain to you, my dear brothers in Islam, what happened when Allah changed my heart. And when that happened, you're talking about a heightened sense of anxiety. I just ran down to the lobby, and the first Muslim I found, I ran up on him, I said, how can I become Muslim? He looked at me because he was started. This man was minding his business. I just ran up on him, ran down on him. Like, yo, man, how you become Muslim? Like, what are you going to be? I said, I want to be Muslim. He looking like, yo, what's going on? Because you know, I'm pretty sure all of y'all, you never had nobody just run up on you in East London in the middle of the street, just pull your clothes and be dragging you, you know, want to be Muslim, like, right? So you can imagine how this man feel. But after several, attempts, me pushing the issue, he just said, it's no simple, just do what I do. So I raised my right arm, I raised my index finger, and I repeated after him. He said, Ashhadu, Ashhadu. إلا إله إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. He said, how do you like you Muslim? I'm like, huh? He's like, oh, you're Muslim. I said, yo, you sure? He said, alhamdulillah, you're Muslim. So I'm tripping. Because I ain't never experienced nothing in my life that was simple. You understand? My pops lived around, my mom was on drugs. My grandmother came and got me. I was 3 months old. I left the house at 15. I had my first child at 16. My oldest at 31. I've been living a life that's never ever been simple. And this man told me that this mere 2 testimonies solidified my true belief in God. Because it wasn't that I didn't believe in God, right? But I just solidified my belief by these 2 testimonies. So I'm sitting up here like, nah, we gotta do something else. Like, we gotta go shopping now. We gotta get the outfit, right? I'm looking like, we gotta get the joint, right? Like, you ain't gotta go take me, put me in the water, like nothing, it ain't none of that. No, I'm Muslim. So say, I ain't really believe him. So, what I did, I called this brother that I knew from Philly. I lived in Georgia, right, at the time. And this brother, I only know him for selling firearms. So then they never asked me about being a Muslim. And I forgot to give you my disclaimer. No one never talked to me about Islam. No one never invited me to a conference where Islam was being taught. No one ever slid me a book like, yo, you should read this. None of that. And this brother, who I'm not going to mention his name, may Allah give him shafa, because he's not doing well right now, man. I keep in touch with him because, he played a very significant role in my life and a very significant role in me reverting to Islam. So Like I said, I only knew him for selling firearms. So I called him. I'm in Dubai. I'm in Abu Dhabi. I called him. I'm like, yo, salam alaikum. Like, Michael Salam, who this? I said, it's Loon. He said, yo, you Muslim? I said, yeah. He said, how you know? I'm like, yo, I was just with the dude. He told me what, he told me what to say. He told me I'm Muslim. He said, what he told you to say? I said, I don't know. I said what he said. He's like, yo, when you get back to the States, man, come see me, man. You gonna take Shahada again. He's like, and just hung up on me, strong lady. I'm like, yo, this dude burnt out. Like, he's cooked. This is the same dude. I remember him one time. He said, by Allah, he said, one day you're gonna be Muslim. Man, shut up. Let me see that sick soul. That's the most he ever did. He never just said, like, he told me, right? He said, one day you're gonna be Muslim. While he digging out stuff that, we ain't even talk about. But anyway, so I went back to the States. Lo and behold, the brother made me take my Shahada again. And then I remember, check this out. I moved to Egypt in 2010. Me and my family, I went there to study. Because as soon as I accepted Islam, I didn't want nobody to try to exploit me. I didn't want nobody to try to take advantage of my vulnerability. I wanted to go learn, you know what I'm saying? Because that day I accepted Islam, that was the last day I smoked, that was the last day I drank, that was the last day I listened to the radio. I ain't listened to music in 15 years, you know what I'm saying? Only time I hear music is when I'm in the barber shop or something like that. Well, I was just in the barber shop at, what was it, like Southwestern, bunch of young dudes in there. And I'm saying to myself, if I tell Shorty turn the radio on, I'm gonna have to fight everybody in here. Just hurry up. I just sit still, let them cut, don't even move, just hurry up, cut my hair. So that's the truth. Your brother and me don't press play. So if I hit, I hit. But me pressing play, sitting there, indulging, I don't do that no more. I'm gonna do that. So while I was there, I studied in a couple of Moroccans, trying to get the language. And I remember signing up to Darasul Khas in University at Azhar. So I remember when the day I was supposed to enroll, they took me in this little room. And they kind of like pat me down to make sure I was Muslim. And then turned around and gave me a certificate that said I was Muslim. So I took Shahada 3 times. So all y'all that raised y'all hands and said y'all was born and raised Muslim, I'm more Muslim than all of y'all. I got 2 testimonies and paperwork. Alhamdulillah. So the moral of this story is that, like I said, Allah is the best of planners. And Allah guides whom He wills. And He continues to guide people every single day. This blessed deen of Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. The churches are getting empty. The masajid is getting crowded. This is what's happening. We at a very pivotal point in this religion right now. Understand? We at a very pivotal point. And there's a lot of attacks now on the youth. A lot of brothers that's older than you can tell you. 10, 15 years ago, it was open season on the elders. They got all the smoke. I just came from doing 9 years in federal prison. I met a bunch of beautiful brothers who were getting tripped up in these extremist charges and stuff like that. Brothers you can look at and tell when you look at them, when you listen to them recite Quran, when you look at them implement the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, you know they couldn't possibly have anything to do with it. I got a good friend I just spoke to not too long ago, Bengali brother, spent about 14 years in prison. Hafid in Quran, memorized like 6, 7 different Quran. Monster. Another young Palestinian brother, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say his name, may Allah increase him. But once again, monster with the hadith. Memorized almost half of Bukhari, and he was a Hafiz as well. And the Muslims in prison is strong. The Muslims in prison are the most respected, the most loved, the most feared. You know what I'm saying? There was times in prison when even the non-Muslims would come to us to rectify their affairs. So that tells you that we're supposed to be the best of the people for the people. That's what I'm trying to tell you, the youth. It's on y'all shoulders. Because if we can function in an environment where everything is an opposition to us and we move as a ummah and we're strong, who has more access and more means to implement this than people who are free? I spent 9 years in a structured environment. Muslims is love. We had structure. We had an Amir. He would talk to the police. So this way we protected the men. Because he's entrusted with the religious affairs of the people, right? The Amir, you go deal with the police. If something go wrong, we can get another Amir. You don't want to lose the Imam, right? Then we had the Sharif. Whoever was the Sharif, he was in charge of the security for the Muslims. So anytime anything happened, you see these dudes walking on the yard, you do like, oh man. People trying to spread, like Red Sea, like Muslims coming through. They already know. These brothers are very diplomatic though, so they can't be no more. Very diplomatic. Then we have our kills in each block, because the way the prison was set up, we don't always share the same space. So you have a wakil in each block. So he's entrusted with leading salah in each block. Then we have the Beitul Mal. So a brother might get off the bus, he's new to the compound, he don't have no property. We'll go right under the bed, pull out a bag as big as him. Sweatsuits, toiletries, slippers, everything. Knickknacks, patty wax, everything, We were structured. And wallahi, this is why a lot of brothers in America end up going back to prison. Because they can't find that same brotherhood outside. So it's important that you understand your ikhwan. I'm putting all this on your shoulder tonight as a reminder, and hopefully it sparks something. To let you know, one, that Allah continues to guide people to Islam. Two, you have Muslims who are put in an environment because maybe they were not going to perform the deeds that were pleasing to Allah while they were free, so Allah put them in this environment where they're doing it to the best of their ability. So don't frown on your brothers who find themselves incarcerated neither. But then you'll be aiding and assisting the non-Muslims against your brother. Because that's how they aim anybody that make any infraction or make any mistake or make a bad decision. You Muslim, I don't care where you at. You Muslim, you my brother. So inshallah ta'ala, if there's anything that I said, is any benefit to you, it's solely from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If there's anything that I say that is incorrect, it is from myself, it is from my lack of knowledge, my deficiency as a human being, and it was because of the shaitan. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.